What have you been holding on to just a little too long? There's an old story that hunters used to tell. And this parable that's been passed down over the years, I did a little digging, and it seems like some truth to it. I wouldn't take it as gospel. I'd more pay attention to the overall message. But apparently in Western and Central Africa, this was an approach that hunters used to catch animals, particularly monkeys in some instances. And so the idea here is not about strength or speed. It's much more subtle. The idea is a little bit quieter than that. The values under the surface, if you will. So here's what these hunters would do. Here's the context. They would take this sort of narrow-necked jar, and they'd place something sweet inside of it. So say fruit or nuts or something just valuable enough for the animal to want to grab, and they'd leave it alone. And then theoretically, a monkey would come along eventually, and it would be curious, and it would peer inside, and it would reach its hand down through the narrow opening, wrap its fingers around the food. And it was in that moment where there was a turning point, right, where things changed. Because with an open hand, it can move freely, can release its hand from the jar. But with the closed fist, it's stuck, right? The opening that allowed it in is now too small to let it out. And here's the part that matters. The monkey doesn't understand the trap for obvious reasons. It doesn't think, hey, I should let go. It thinks I need to pull harder. So it struggles and struggles and struggles, and it jerks its arm and twists and panics. And, the more it fights, the more convinced it becomes that something outside of it is holding it there. And all the while, the solution's just sitting quietly in its hand. It's like, let go. That's it. That's all you need to do. No strength, no struggle, no effort, no force, just release. But it won't. Because what it's holding feels valuable. Because the monkey chose it. Because the monkey wants it. And so it stays. And it often stays long enough for the hunter to return, long enough for the trap to work. And again, this is an important distinction, right? It didn't work because the monkey was overpowered. It worked because the monkey refused to let go, to open its hand. It's very much a self-inflicted wound. So now take a step back from the story, right? Because obviously this is not about monkeys. It's about how often we do the exact same thing, just in more sophisticated ways. We are just more evolved chimpanzees. We hold on to things that keep us stuck. And I can make a nice long list. I'm sure you could too, right? Old identities, past failures, expectations that no longer fit, the need to be right, the need to be seen a certain way, the version of life we thought we'd have by now. We grip them, and my God, do we hold them tightly. Not because they're helping us, but because we've decided they matter. And when we feel stuck, we don't question the grip, we question everything else. We say, why can't I move forward? Why does this feel so hard? What's holding me back, right? Just like that metaphorical monkey in the parable, we pull harder, more effort, more frustration, more force. But the truth is quieter than that. Again, subtle. It's not always about pushing forward. Sometimes it's about opening your hand and letting go. Letting go of the thing you thought you needed. Letting go of that version of yourself that does not belong in your future. Letting go of the story that says, hey, this is just how things are. Because the trap isn't always obvious. It doesn't always look like a cage. It looks a lot like something you chose, something you justified, something you're not quite ready to release. So here's the shift. Here's the win. Freedom is not always about gaining something new. As much as our brains are wired to associate growth with acquisition. Sometimes the biggest steps forward come from momentarily stepping back. It comes from opening your hand, from realizing that what you're holding on to is the only thing keeping you where you are. Not the fruit, the jar, or the world around you. You. So the question isn't what do I need to do? It's what am I still holding? What am I keeping that I need to let go of? Because the moment you do, the moment you release your grip, you'll find something surprising. You were never really trapped. You were just holding on. What's up, guys? Eddie here. And before we jump into the next chapter, just a quick note. So, as many of you know, every single video that I've ever put on this channel has been created with the intent of building momentum in your life. If you want something physical to anchor that momentum, we've created the brand AGNS, or Always Grateful, Never Satisfied, for that exact reason. Athletic apparel that embodies the very ideas and concepts I talk about every day. Because you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, we've created a code for this exclusive community, YWW20. You can use that on the website, agns.lifestyle, or right under this video on YouTube. All this stuff is there in the shop. Again, code YWW20 gets you 20% off the entire store. It's a great way to support the channel and also elevate your journey. Let it be a reminder to keep showing up. Appreciate your time. Always grateful, never satisfied. On to the next. The saying goes, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you'll land amongst the stars. But wait, they will tell you to aim lower. Not because you can't, but because they didn't. Because the unknown is loud and their fear is even louder. They'll tell you to want less, to shrink your reach, to trade your fire for comfort. They'll ask, why risk falling when you can learn to love the floor? They'll talk about gravity as though it's gospel, as though the pull downward is the only truth that matters. But what they'll never say, what they may never know, is that some are born with the stars in their eyes. Some are built to leap even when there is no net. Some would rather break trying to touch the sky than spend a lifetime kneeling to what is safe. No, you'll feel it. In the quiet moments when no one's watching, when the world is still and the spark returns, that flicker, that impossible thing you're told to put away. And in those moments, you'll wonder, is it foolish to reach? To stretch for something that no one else sees? To climb a ladder that completely disappears into clouds? To follow a path with no name, no trail, and no map? But what they never say is that the map is made by the one who walks. The trail is born of footsteps, not instruction. And the moon, well, maybe that moon was never the prize. Rather, it's the decision, the declaration, the raising of the hand to the sky and saying, I don't know what waits around the corner, but I will go anyway. And as for them, they won't understand that. They won't see the stars you passed through or the galaxies you shaped with every setback. They won't feel the cold of the void you dared to enter, or the warmth of that first light after darkness. To them, you missed. You aimed high and you missed. But what they misunderstand is that you became something in the process. Falling through the stars, it still means you touched them. It still means you left the ground. It still means you learned to fly. See, they'll write stories about people like you without ever realizing they once warned you not to try. Because it's easy to measure life by trophies. It's easy to count only wins. When truth be told, meaning is found in motion, in becoming, in reaching beyond what was and towards the infinite upside. And no medal can capture that. No applause can echo long enough to match the silence you broke just by beginning. You'll lose people. You'll shed skin. You'll bury old versions of yourself that begged you to stay. But with each step, you'll remember the moon was never promised, only the journey. So keep climbing. Even when they laugh, even when they don't get it, even when they turn away, even when the night offers no light back, climb. Because what they call failure, you'll know as transformation. What they label detour, you'll see as design. And one day, and that day will arrive, they'll look up. They'll see a light shooting across the night sky that they cannot explain. They'll call it lucky, they'll call it magic, they'll call it miraculous, but you'll know. You'll know there was nothing miraculous about it. It was the fire in your lungs. The shaking hands that still reached out. The tired feet that didn't quit. The dream you protected when the world told you to let go. So when they tell you to aim lower, smile. Let them. Because they never saw the stars you were dancing through. Time waits for no one. Look, the earth will continue to spin, the sun to set, clocks to tick. There are no perfect moments, only moments, waiting to be interpreted by those passing through them. And as a raindrop in this thunderstorm, an actor in this play, the only rational question in my mind is if time will not wait, why should I? If time will continue its steady march, why let it leave me behind? I'm in my mid-30s, and here's what I've already seen. I've already seen songs I grew up with, referred to as classic rock. I've seen some of my childhood sports heroes struggle to throw a first pitch before a baseball game. I've seen a substantial portion of my social interaction become digitized. I've seen once forever people in my life fade away and become memories. I've audibly laughed at the ridiculousness of things that at one point I was sure were important. I've redefined the meaning of the word home in my life more times than I can count. In fact, the way I see the world and the way I see myself operating in it continues to change. As the saying goes, the only constant in our lives is that things change, evolve. Why does this matter so much to me? Well, because when I look back, the single thing that would consistently keep me from truly pushing that pedal to the floor, to truly capturing all life has to offer, was a fear, a very specific fear, the fear of losing what I had at that moment. I was scared to death of loss, as we all tend to be to varying extents. In fact, we're biologically wired to respect the fear of loss to a greater extent than the prospect of acquisition. There's humor in all this, though, a deeply rooted irony. It emerges when we discover that we lose everything. It all goes. The song that's playing ends for each and every one of us. And is this a sad thing? No. No more than the credits to your favorite movie rolling after the final scene. It was the show, the experience that meant the world. It's a beautiful thing if you let it manifest in all its beauty. If you move along with it, immerse yourself in its brilliance. My point is that the only way to lose is to wait. It's to not realize that you're starring in your own cinematic masterpiece, and those credits will at some point roll. It's to sit in a chair on the side of the gym while the rest of the room dances. Life is finite, and the power is not in a flawless existence. It's in understanding to our core that there is nothing to lose, that the window is small, that we should carry out the human equivalent of a fireworks show. We should be obnoxiously bold, absurdly courageous. We should go, live, try, experiment, explore, build, create. And yeah, sometimes you'll fail. And sometimes you'll fail spectacularly. But sometimes you'll triumph. And along the way, the mistakes, they become wisdom. They become courage. Both of which are integral to any meaningful grand finale. And as I make my way around the sun for the 36th time, the priority is to remember that these rides are not forever. They are precious. And that I have the strength to live accordingly. Fearlessly, courageously. My hope is that you find it within yourself to do the same. To pull back the curtains and see now that failure was never the adversary. No, not even close. The adversary is an unwillingness to make the most of your moments. The adversary is freezing amidst the constant hammering away of ticking clocks. The adversary is the prospect of removing failure's mask years down the road, only to stare directly into the eyes of regret. These outcomes constitute your greatest adversary. So for the sake of all that is meaningful, go push into the questions and the risk and the curiosity that makes life worth living. After all, it is not about failure. It's about time. There are moments in life that feel like endings. But what if they're simply the next version of you? A question that brings me right to the present moment. It's funny how something so small can undo something so sacred. This time, it's something as arbitrary as back spasms. A sharp pain when I breathe in that kind of moves different places in my upper left back to my lat shoulder. And at first it was, kind of an afterthought. It was like, okay, it'll heal. I'll be fine in a few days. After all, part of getting older and lifting is working around these things. You're never 100% perfect. But it's been almost 3 weeks now. And instead of healing, it's getting worse, right? It hurts to sleep, hurts to breathe. Even thinking about a pull-up feels like betrayal. And here's the part worth examining. I didn't think it would hit this hard. But, here I am, canceling workouts with friends. Texting, hey, sorry, man, gotta skip today. That Murph workout I was so pumped to do, that ritual of strength and struggle, shared with people I respect, gone, postponed. Forgotten by everyone except me. And this isn't just me whining, by the way. Like, I'm getting to the point here. I feel less anchored because for me, movement isn't just fitness. It's clarity, it's identity. It's the thread that really weaves the rest of my life together. And without it, apparently, that thread has started to unravel. My wake time shifted a little bit. Don't have to get up early to hit the fasted cardio, right? So morning structure softens. And you get the idea, the domino effect. Kind of stop tracking meals. Skipping the cold plunge a few times turns into a few more. Opening Instagram instead of the notebook. And the part of me that would roar forward with focus and fire, well, he's just a little quieter now. And I think that's the moment where the wolves come. Not suddenly, at least not in this case, not dramatically, but gradually until they're everywhere. Until you look around and go, whoa. One sits on my shoulder whispering, you're losing it. Another paces in front of me. Momentum's gone, you'll never get it back. One hides behind false logic, right? Maybe this is just who you are now. Maybe it's easier to accept that. And the cruelest one of all, he just watches, says nothing, because he knows that I know. The context here is, for the first time in a long time, I'd finally felt healthy, like I'd mitigated and sort of removed myself from a lot of these things I've dealt with over the years. And that's what's been interesting to watch, right? That subtle erosion of self-belief, that part of me that's always said, dude, you've been here before, you'll get through this. Sometimes when you're just down and out, it feels hard to hear. But here's the inflection point, and I love to share these inflection points. This morning I sat alone on my balcony and I asked the question that matters most. You don't like the person you're becoming, the trajectory, you've taken in a very short period of time. It's like, do I let this moment consume me or do I become something new? Do I let it be a new evolution? Because this is no different than any other challenge in life. It feels big and personal and complex because, well, it's what's right in front of me now. But in reality, it's just another obstacle. Pain has a way of asking you who you really are. Not when everything's working. Not when you're strong. But when you're broken, when the routines fall apart, when your identity starts to slip through your fingers, and the wolves, they are not the enemy. They're the test. In a way, they are the invitation, a hand extended. And so this morning, I gifted myself the decision. Not to sprint, obviously, not to lift, can't do that. But to face that circle of wolves with grace, to stop hoping they go away, and to meet their gaze and answer them. Yes, I'm in some mental duress, right? Poor me, life goes on. Yes, I'm losing momentum. Yes, in a way, holding off regression, but I'm still here. Blood in my veins, air in my lungs. And gonna rebuild from the inside out. Again, it's not like I just found out I'll never walk again, right? Perspective here. Because the wolf isn't some fantasy of me at my peak. It's who's already inside, who I become when everything's stripped away. When normalcy and routine and comfort are taken, who do you become? So if you feel them too, right? Those doubts, those whispers, if your momentum has been slowed, if your identity feels like it's dissolving, this is your moment. Not to run or hide, but to rise. To not lay down, shake your fist at the world and become the sheep, but to meet the wolves where they are. Life isn't about staying strong when it's easy. It's about becoming stronger when every part of you wants to disappear, when you're frustrated and annoyed, and all you see is off-ramps. Your North Star is covered up by clouds. That's when it matters. When the wolves circle, you become one.